Hello and welcome back to Crypto Saving Experts, where we talk about the latest cryptocurrency news and take a look at the markets so that we all know exactly what is happening. My name is Jess and we do these videos every single weekday. So if you are new here, please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's see what's going on in the news today. Now, Bitcoin has seen a little bit of volatility in the last 24 hours. It has seen some sideways movement over the weekend, but we are seeing some movements here up 0.3% within the last 24 hours to 29,375. Now, we have seen Bitcoin crash down below its level of support within the last week or so. But since we've seen that move to the downside, we haven't seen so much action after that. We've seen some more sideways action. So I want to be analysing the price of Bitcoin in today's stream. We'll also take a look at the price of Ethereum. It's down 0.37% within the last 24 hours to $1,868. We'll take a look at the price of Bitcoin at the end of today's stream. But first of all, let's take a look at the cryptocurrency news. Let's see what's going on in the news today. We have a lot to discuss today. Obviously, it's Monday. We've got the whole weekend to catch up on today. So let's get straight into it. And first, let's talk about our good old friend or enemy, Gary Gensler. So Gary Gensler has apparently told Coinbase's CEO, Brian Armstrong, to remove all cryptocurrencies from the exchange except Bitcoin, saying that all cryptocurrencies except Bitcoin are securities, and if they are securities, unregistered securities, and therefore accusing the exchange as acting as an unregistered securities exchange. Now, apparently, the SEC chairman Gary Gensler said this to Coinbase prior to charging Coinbase and creating that lawsuit against Coinbase earlier this year. So let's take a look at this article and see what this means. So the SEC asked Coinbase to delist everything except Bitcoin. Now, obviously, Brian Armstrong decided not to take that approach. That would completely crush the company. All of the profits it makes would no longer be a profitable company if it did remove all of those altcoins. Obviously, we all know Brian Armstrong believes that not all altcoins are securities and is fighting for regulation and clarity on regulation in the US and has been doing so for years. So them choosing to continue to list all of these tokens despite the SEC asking them to remove them is just another way of them standing up for themselves and saying, no, we need some clarity on this. You can't just decide this without giving any more information. So the Coinbase CEO has said, they came back to us and they said, we believe every asset other than Bitcoin is a security. Now, this is a really bold statement here. If this is true, well, let's continue with this statement first. We said, well, how are you coming to that conclusion? Because that's not our interpretation of the law. And they said, we're not going to explain it to you. You need to delist every asset other than Bitcoin. So the SEC have said, everything is a security. I'm not telling you how. We're not creating transparency for our regulation. We're not giving clarity for our regulation. That's just it. That's the decision we have made. And Coinbase have said, well, until you give us clarity, until you give us transparency on that regulation, we're not going to do anything. We're going to sit tight. And that is when the SEC decided to charge Coinbase of being an unregistered securities exchange for offering unregistered securities. And in that same week, they also charged Binance as well. So let's take a look at this. The SEC allegedly asked Binance to delist the digital assets right before the regulator announced its lawsuit against the company for offering an unregistered securities exchange, broker and clearing agency and offering or selling multiple securities related to its staking as a service platform. So delisting everything except Bitcoin would have been the end of the crypto industry in the US, according to the CEO of Coinbase. He has said here, we really didn't have a choice at that point. Delisting every asset other than Bitcoin, which by the way is not what the law says, would have essentially meant the end of the crypto industry in the US. It kind of made it an easy choice. Let's go to court and find out what the court says. Now, we have seen earlier this month that the court did rule in favor of XRP and Ripple in a case against the SEC, where the SEC was saying XRP is a security and Ripple was saying it is not. The courts ruled that in 3 of the 4 circumstances where XRP is being sold, it is not a security. So XRP is won on that front. Now, that XRP lawsuit is not over yet, but it does prove that there's a lack of clarity in the laws around cryptocurrency regulation. And with that lack of clarity, it's very hard for those within the cryptocurrency industry to determine and to work out what assets should be considered securities and which ones shouldn't. Now, I'm not saying no cryptocurrency assets should be considered as securities. We do need to be careful here and understand the different regulation. But when the regulation is so unclear that the SEC can't win its own battle and the SEC keeps contradicting itself over the years, how are those within the cryptocurrency industry meant to determine what's a security and what is not? So we have seen here that the SEC have said all altcoins are securities. I don't think we can rule things in that way. Just say, in fact, this entire industry, label it as a security and that's it, done. We're not clarifying it. We're not being transparent. That's exactly what the SEC has done, and it's just not the right move to make here. Now they are regulating by enforcement, creating lawsuits left, right and centre, still not providing that clarity. Now, we've seen the chairman of the SEC, the Gary Gensler, change his mind about whether Ethereum is a security or not over the years. We've also seen them say they're not providing clarity because it's already there. And then we're seeing them lose in court because the framework they're using to determine whether an asset is a security or not is something they can't even understand. We also saw the Hinman documents where people within the SEC were questioning each other's actions because the regulation is not clear. I don't think we need any more points to understand that the regulation is not clear, and we need some clarity and we need transparency on that. And until then, there's going to be a big battle here between the cryptocurrency industry and the regulators there, because until we get that clarity, it looks like the cryptocurrency industry is going to stand strong. Coinbase have chosen not to delist all of those tokens. It would essentially be the end of Coinbase, as Brian Armstrong has said. It would be the end of crypto in the US, and that is not the fight that we've been fighting. We're trying to drive adoption, and we need some clarity on this. They are going to have to go through with this lawsuit now, go to court with the SEC and see what decision is made there. So this could be a very, very long process. But as I always say, in terms of regulation and the cryptocurrency industry, a lot of people think, oh, this bear market is going to be terrible because we've got regulation this time. We might not see a bull market because we've got regulation this time. I would say every single time there's a bear market, we can point out a trigger for that bear market. Every time there's a bull market, we can point out a trigger for that bull market. We've always known that regulation was something that was going to create a headwind, going to create some concerns for the industry, but that is something we need to go through as a new industry. Cryptocurrency is a relatively new industry, similar to AI. And with that, we need more regulation around the space. And yes, it might cause headwinds. Yes, it might cause some problems. But in the long term, this is a battle we need to face and get through so that the industry can continue to grow. So yes, it may cause some problems, volatility in the price, maybe not always positive volatility that we're all hoping for. But at the end of the day, when we get out the other side of this regulation, when we have clarity on regulation, when we can fairly be a regulated industry and not just considered to be the Wild West full of fraud, that is when we'll really see the cryptocurrency industry grow. So yes, it might be turbulent. It may not be the most enjoyable time to sit through, but when we get through to the other side, I believe it will be worth it. Let's see what else is going on in the cryptocurrency news here. Let's move on from our friend Gary Gensler. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, if you have not already, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. We do these live streams every single weekday, so make sure not to miss out on this and to tune in every single day. Let's see what else is going on in the news. So we need to talk about Curve Finance. Now I want to pull this article up here. This exploit puts $100 million worth of crypto at risk. So what's been happening here? Curve Finance suffers $26 million exploit due to a re-entrancy attack. Now, a re-entrancy attack is when a hacker, takes advantage of a bug in a smart contract and it allows them to re-enter the same function over and over again. Now, we've seen this over the years in many different cases, but we have seen a re-entrancy attack in the project called the DAO, which caused the Ethereum hard fork back in 2014, I believe. believe. Of course, the Ethereum hard fork, which split Ethereum into Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. Re-entrancy attacks are something that we are well versed of within the cryptocurrency space. When we see an attack in the cryptocurrency space, the most important thing to do is to learn from it and build from it. Many of the different coding languages used in the cryptocurrency space and in Web3 are new languages built specifically for Web3. So these are seen as relatively new languages, and we're still trying to work out the best practices. So with that, we are going to see some hurdles along the way, re-entrancy attacks being one of them. But this is this is one of the most well-known attacks in terms of Web3 development, and this is one that we shouldn't really still be facing right now. But unfortunately, we are with this massive project as well. Really unfortunate to see here. So this is Curve Finance, and they have suffered $26 million in exploit due to a re-entrancy attack here, and there are more funds at risk. So essentially, because we all know what a re-entrancy attack is as developers, we can see these re-entrancy attacks and we try and protect ourselves from them, and essentially the software used to protect us from re-entrancy attacks has actually got a problem with it. So unfortunately, exploiters have drained around $52 million from the effective Curve pools. On-chain records show one MEV-bot deployer, Coffee Babe ETH, returned 2,879 ETH, worth approximately $5.39 million to the Curve Finance deployer address. Jason Smith says, is re-entrancy attack in the CSC library? If so, can you show it? Re-entrancy attacks, there's something coming out for re-entrancy attacks very, very soon. Just keep your eyes peeled on the Crypto Saving Expert website. Some big changes coming with some very, very new stuff. So make sure to stay tuned on that. Also, if you have not already, while we're on this conversation, please don't forget to go to cryptosavingexpert.com, the best cryptocurrency website out there. Let me zoom out a little bit. So you can see here we have news, guides, courses, market data, and the encyclopedia. If you go to that big blue button at the top, press sign up and create an account there, you get to join over 13,000 other people learning about cryptocurrency absolutely for free there. Let's continue with this story here though. So you can see here the trading volume on Curve has increased massively as people try and move from the platform, trying to keep their funds safe. Let's see here. Curve Finance is a decentralized exchange that ranks number 5 on BitDegree exchange tracker. Curve Finance has a trading volume of $392 million in the last 24 hours and $65 billion in the last 7 days. So as a decentralized exchange, Curve differs from centralized platforms like Binance. There's no Curve Finance spot market in the traditional sense, since the platform uses liquidity pools rather than digital order books. So that's what's happening here. Curve has seen a massive attack. Hopefully we get this sorted before any more cryptocurrency is exploited, and hopefully this $100 million worth of crypto at risk gets protected as quickly as possible. Let's continue on to the next piece of news here and see what else is going on. Before we do, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's rush through some now. We've got a lot of news today. We're recapping the weekend. And then we'll go on to the price of Bitcoin. We'll analyse that and see what's really going on, because we did see that break to the downside, and now we've seen a whole lot of sideways action. So what does that mean? Are we having bullish price targets, or are we having bearish price targets? The industry seems more torn than ever right now. Cryptocurrency Twitter is really divided. So let's talk about that in a second. But let's continue with the news here. So Crypto.com gains regulatory approval in the Netherlands following Binance's departure. So Crypto.com's entrance into the Netherlands comes a month after Binance exited the country due to regulatory concerns. So Crypto.com taking advantage of that opportunity there. We also are seeing US lawmakers query Tim Cook over Apple's policies on crypto. So the lawmakers said Apple may be attempting to maximize its profits by introducing policies stifling innovation. So let's take a look at this article. The US lawmakers are beginning to look into whether Apple's App Store policies are purposefully intended to reduce the utility of apps in blockchains and NFTs. Now, we've seen problems with the App Store and its policies and for the cryptocurrency space over the last year or so. So you can see here that on Friday, a representative wrote a letter to Apple's CEO demanding answers to a list of questions regarding the company's App Store policies and how they impact cryptocurrency and other emerging technologies. So Apple may be using its market dominance incorrectly. We can see here that it could be using them to purposefully limit choice and stifle innovation at the expense of user experience. In particular, it appears that Apple may have used its Apple Store guidelines to increase its own profits and reduce the utility of apps in blockchains, NFTs, and other blockchain-related technology. So the lawmakers wrote, citing an instance where Apple demanded a 30% cut of the gas fees and forced Coinbase to remove NFT transfers from its wallet. So we've seen the representatives say, it is essential that Congress fully understand the App Store guidelines and the extent these guidelines limit innovation and American technology leadership. Apple's support of innovative new technologies such as blockchains, NFTs, and other distributed ledger technologies could solidify American leadership of these technologies. We've already seen these problems before, as mentioned in this article. We have seen Apple demand a 30% cut of gas fees and force Coinbase to remove NFT transfers from its wallet. So are they using their power and their market dominance to limit the amount of cryptocurrency and blockchain adoption we are seeing? Potentially. Let's continue on to the next piece of news here. So we have, what if Gary Gensler hadn't become the SEC? Now, what a dreamy thought there. That is not a nightmare at all. That is a dream come true. What would have happened if Gary Gensler hadn't become the SEC chairman? Now, there's a couple of ways to look at this. I've not taken a look at this article yet. We could see increased clarity around cryptocurrency regulation. Or do we think that somebody else would have been able to fill Gary Gensler's steps and taken the same approach as he has chosen to? So we can see here, we'd like to think it would mean crypto-friendly laws, a global hub, but will that happen? Who knows? Let's take a look at what the conclusion of this article is. If you want to see the whole thing, I'll drop the link to it in the chat here. But the conclusion of what would happen if Gary Gensler was not the chairman of the SEC. Let's take a look at this. Aside from Gary Gensler and his commission throwing the book at genuine criminals and scammers every so often, under his leadership, the regulator has undoubtedly failed and driven innovation of the US. Exchanges could have been welcome to operate within clear guidelines and operated with regular checks by the SEC to ensure financial laws were being abided to. Alongside the regulatory scrutiny towards exchanges and the industry in 2023, Gensler failed to stop the FTX collapse before it came to fruition, and questions have been raised regarding where Gensler and the SEC were during the run-up to and eventual collapse of FTX. Although it is impossible to know for sure due to the lack of knowing who would have taken the helm instead of Gensler, it is not out of the realm of imagination to conclude that crypto could have been in a much better position had Gensler not taken the role as chair. So what we are seeing here is a lot of questions surrounding Gary Gensler and FTX. Obviously, FTX was a major cryptocurrency exchange being organized completely incorrectly for years. And that is something that the SEC take responsibility to regulate and ensure that it is moving smoothly. Now, the SEC weren't in the focusing on the industry enough at this time, weren't checking FTX. So FTX happened, and this has kind of triggered the SEC to be a lot stricter on regulating the rest of the industry, but yet they are still not providing that clarity and that transparency when regulating the industry as a whole, whether that's centralized exchanges or whether that's individual projects. So that's still a problem we have here in the space. Let's continue on to the next piece of news, though. We have spoken about Gary Gensler a lot. If you want to know more about what has happened within the last couple of days, make sure to restart today's stream if you've only just tuned in. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. So XRP could dip to 50 cents as effects of Ripple's win against the SEC fade. So XRP's impressive pump due to Ripple's partial victory against the SEC has begun to fade. Now, we do know that the SEC, let's check this is working smoothly, the SEC lost in court against XRP and Ripple just a couple of weeks ago. It's because the courts ruled in favour of XRP, ruling it not to be a security in 3 of 4 instances in which XRP is sold. Now, we're looking at XRP transactions to determine whether they are securities or not, and the only instance in which XRP was determined to be a security was when Ripple was selling it to other institutional investors. So what we've seen here is a massive win for XRP. We saw a massive move to the upside as a response from that, but now things have started to cool down slightly. The SEC have not ruled out of the question appealing this decision. And we also are aware this lawsuit is not over yet. This is just one step in the process, but it's definitely one step in the right direction for XRP and Ripple. So are we going to see that move to the downside? Well, we still have a lot of FOMO in the space. Fear of missing out is something that's rife in cryptocurrency, especially with XRP. I would say XRP is actually not something that I've accumulated over time. This lawsuit has been going on for 3 years now, and as I've been saying throughout this whole period of time, I've felt like through those 3 years, my money could do better elsewhere. And I've made money from that portion of my portfolio. I've been able to trade with that, invest with that, and make good decisions with that throughout the 3 years. Now, obviously, we have the XRP army who've been accumulating and accumulating and accumulating through those 3 years, and they've seen this massive payoff here. But there are two ways of looking at this. We did see about a 100% increase. It was around 150% at one point. We were trading around, 45 cents, and it went all the way up to around 95 cents. So we did see a 100% increase. But overall, a nice movement up there. I mean, I wanted more. I wanted a lot more. I feel like those that have been accumulating for 3 years deserved a lot more than a 2x. But I do think we'll get it in the long term. Ripple have partnered with many different central banks trying to help build CBDCs. There's a massive divide around Ripple in the cryptocurrency space because it doesn't prove everything that everybody stands for. There's a bit of a divide there, but overall, XRP winning that lawsuit is a massive, massive win for the cryptocurrency space. If XRP have won that in court, it shows that the clarity around cryptocurrency regulation is not clear, and it shows that even the SEC can't determine from their own framework whether an asset is a security or not. Let's take a look at the next article here. So the CFTC charges Tennessee couple for perpetrating $6 million crypto investment fraud. This is the kind of thing we want people to be caught out for. This is where we want the CFTC and the SEC to be putting all of their focus, not into these centralized exchanges that have been working with the SEC in trying to get regulated and understand the regulation for years. Coinbase have been fighting for clarity on regulation and trying to work with the SEC as much as possible for years and years and years. And that is why it's so shocking that the SEC have just suddenly changed against them and not just provided some clarity. I mean, the SEC are making more work for themselves choosing this route, but here we are. Anyway, the CFTC have filed a complaint against the couple in the US District Court. If you want more information on this article, I'll drop the link in the chat. But let's continue on to the next article here. Before we continue, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Here we have Shibarium Bridge goes live for public testing as August launch approves. So the bridge is a cross-chain solution enabling token transfers between Ethereum and Shibarium without intermediaries or third parties. So I'll drop links to that in today's chat as well if you want to read through that. But let's move on to the next one here. We have, how do altcoins perform in a bull market? I have been doing a lot of research on this topic actually, so let's pause on this for a second. So we all know the Bitcoin halving is fast approaching in April 2024, and that is creating a huge amount of excitement for this space. I am very much a firm believer in these 4-year cycles and that they will continue to repeat. And with that, that means I believe that we are going to see some new all-time highs in 2024. But until then, we could be seeing a little bit more sideways action. So typically, we see a new all-time high around 3 months after the Bitcoin halving. At that Bitcoin halving, I'm expecting to be at around $50,000, and in about 3 months later, in July, August, I'm expecting to see $70,000 once again. Obviously, nothing is financial advice, but that is what I'm looking at here. So what does that mean for the altcoins if that does play out like it has done historically? Those predictions come off the fact that if we look at the history and look at the previous 4-year cycles and project that onto the next cycle, that's where those price targets come from. But what about the altcoins? A lot of people are very into their altcoins here on the channel. A lot of people have come from that Martini Guy's show where he talks about altcoins a lot. So I know you guys are interested in this. I would say I am very much less risk averse. I don't like as much risk as many other people within the space. I like to be very, very careful with my investments. I like to stick to high cap altcoins, mid cap altcoins, and Bitcoin, and majority Bitcoin. I mean, there's some low caps that I will take a risk on every now and then, but I would say I don't take on as much risk as everyone else. I'm quite boring in that sense, and I like to do a lot of research before I choose these things. So I've been looking at this, and I've been looking at the price of Bitcoin in the run-up to a Bitcoin halving, and the price of altcoins in the run-up to a Bitcoin halving, and what outperformed what, which is better. And this is a really interesting topic. I would say right now, we still have 8 months until the Bitcoin halving. So in those 8 months, I'm expecting to see a lot of sideways action. Yes, we should see some nice movements to the upside. We have the potential to see some movements to the downside though. And we have a huge amount of time where we could just see some sideways action, see a lot of people leave the space because they lose interest, and just see people move out the space in that way. Now, if that is to happen, what is best to hold? Now, I'm looking at all three scenarios here: upwards movement, sideways movement, downwards movement, and what assets are best to hold. Now, obviously, if the price of Bitcoin was to move down, it would have been good to just sell and rebuy lower, but that's not the kind of approach that I like to take. I've been looking at the altcoins versus Bitcoin charts, and it shows that in the run-up to the Bitcoin halving, there isn't much difference between the increases of Bitcoin and the increases of altcoins. So I'm looking at this and thinking to myself, should I take as much risk? Should I take on more risk and move into altcoins right now? Or is Bitcoin going to perform well enough until that Bitcoin halving? If we take a look at this article here, it explains it nicely here as well. So in the early stages of a bull market, Bitcoin often takes the spotlight, attracting considerable investment and attention from traders and investors. As a result, altcoins may struggle to gain momentum as capital flows predominantly towards Bitcoin. Now, as Bitcoin's bullish trend strengthens and its price increases to new highs, investors may start to look for alternative opportunities. So before I'm investing in anything right now, I'm looking at the price of Bitcoin and the run-up to the Bitcoin halvings in history, and I'm taking a look at the price of altcoins through that run-up, and I'm comparing the altcoins to Bitcoin. Now, some of these altcoins do seem to take the lead, and it depends on the narrative at the time as well, but typically, Bitcoin has been performing very well up to those Bitcoin halvings, and altcoins do have a bit of a delayed response to that. So that's just something I'm keeping in mind when I'm looking at my portfolio. Then when we go into the peak of the bull market, when things are running up everywhere, that's when we really see altcoins taking the lead, having those big gains. And obviously Bitcoin can't see as big of a gain as those altcoins can right now because altcoins have much lower market caps, therefore their prices can fluctuate a lot more strongly. I don't think that's the right word there, but let's continue here. Then we obviously have that blow off top. We have seen these 4-year cycles over and over again. I am still of the belief, contrary to popular belief, and unfortunately, that we are going to see another bear market. You can't believe in these 4-year cycles and believe, yes, there's going to be another bull market. If you can't look further than that and understand, there probably will be another bear market as well. So we probably will see another blow off top towards the end of 2025. That's what I'm looking at. And in that scenario, we could see altcoins really underperform compared to Bitcoin. In a bear market, we obviously see the altcoins crash 90-80%, whereas Bitcoin can take a little bit of a lighter dump. I mean, a lighter dump, still like 60%, but Bitcoin holds strong compared to altcoins in a bear market, even though neither are really good assets to hold on to during that time. But it's hard to know when that's going to come, so I like to look at the time frames. A lot of people like price predictions for Bitcoin, for Ethereum, for the altcoins, for the bull market. I don't really have anything like that. I like to look at time frames, and that is what I like to stick to during my trading. I always also say, don't have a price target in your mind in terms of your portfolio's decision. I've been burnt before. I think it's very, very common that people in cryptocurrency that do well, everybody's had a big loss. And my big loss was because I had a figure in my head and I said, I want my portfolio to be worth this much. And I refused to sell anything until I reached it. And I was so close to it. And then we saw that May dump in 2021. So from that, I lost a huge amount of money because my brain was just thinking, I don't care what the prices are, my portfolio needs to reach that point. So I got burnt because of that. I would always say, don't try and get your portfolio to a specific figure. Instead, look at the charts, analyze them, and then then decide to do what you want to do with your portfolio, not the other way around. The markets aren't working in your favor. You need to look at the markets and understand them first. Let's continue on with the next article here, because I've been on a little bit of a rampage there. Jason Smith said, I came over from Interpret Crypto. Thank you very much, Jason. Let's see what else is going on in the chat. Yorkshire Pork said, sick of Gensler. Me too. Let's get him out of there. Let's take a look at the next article. So from rags to riches for everyday people who are now crypto millionaires. So Didi from the Bitcoin family is in this list. Let's see who else is in this list, and then you can go and read through this. Eric Finman is on this list too, the world's youngest Bitcoin billionaire. Who else do we have on here? Jordan, that Martini guy, the founder of Crypto Saving Expert. And we also have, let's see who else is here, NYC teacher turned millionaire, Rachel Siegel. So I'll drop the links to this in the chat. If you want to take a look at that, make sure to check it out. Also, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button on today's stream so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. Let's continue here. So Genesis and FTX reach in principle agreement to resolve bankruptcy claims. The agreement would lead to the withdrawal of all motions previously submitted concerning the claims. So let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. FTX and Genesis agreed to settle their claims in a letter from 27th of July. I'll drop the link to this as well in the chat here too. So bankrupt cryptocurrency exchange FTX has reached an in-principle agreement with embattled lender Genesis Global to settle claims by the debtors of both firms. Let's move on to the next article here. We've got more interesting stuff here. Millionaire crypto trader found dead and dismembered in suitcase. Now this is an awful story. So what we've seen here, he's been dismembered and put into a suitcase and found by kids playing football there. I'll drop the link to this in the chat. But let's move on to the next one. We have AIs will organize themselves using DAO's BitMEX's Arthur Hayes. So Arthur Hayes believes that AI systems will eventually choose to operate through decentralized organized organizations, thus eliminating the inefficiencies of human-run entities. So AI's capabilities and role in shaping the human world have been debated for several years, if not decades, but the launch of generative AI systems such as ChatGPT, Google's Bard, and Apple's in-house Apple GPT has accelerated discussions as AI systems have proven that the future is here. Now, Arthur Hayes, who is the BitMEX founder, by the way, centralized exchange BitMEX, has said that AIs will choose to use DAOs. And fingers crossed, we see some adoption. I mean, AI has massively been adopted within the last couple of months, and if we see these different new technologies, the innovative technologies joining together and working together in a way to drive adoption for both at once, that'd definitely be a win. Let's take a look at what else is going on here. So Grayscale have said all spot Bitcoin ETFs should be approved together. So they have said they should be approved all at once to avoid an advantage by early approvals. So Grayscale, the crypto fund manager, urges the SEC to approve all filed spot Bitcoin ETFs together to prevent any unfair advantage by one being approved before the rest. Now, what we've seen is Grayscale have been fighting for a spot Bitcoin ETF for years and years and years and years, and they just kept being rejected. And then BlackRock came along and said, hey, we want to make a spot Bitcoin ETF. What can we do? And they've applied for the SEC. Now, BlackRock have created over 500 ETFs before, with only one being rejected. And we've seen 33 spot Bitcoin applications before, which have all been rejected. Now, Grayscale have been fighting for that spot Bitcoin ETF. So if BlackRock just come along and manage to get theirs accepted first, it does seem a little bit unfair. And we could see a first mover advantage here. So those that are accepted first could see a huge inflow of money, and that is something that obviously Grayscale have been advocating for and fighting for a very long time. So they don't want to see this be taken away from them from the biggest asset manager in the world, like BlackRock. So we can see here Grayscale's CLO submitted a letter on the 27th of July arguing that the SEC shouldn't favour certain ETFs over others and should make a fair decision. So the SEC's pushback on spot ETFs, they all needed to clarify a little bit more detail a couple of weeks ago, but we are still waiting to see this. GBTC is the stock from Grayscale, which has been trying to transition into an ETF for a very long time now. So the SEC has been denying their applications over and over again, but hopefully with BlackRock applying this time could be different. I'll drop the link to that in the chat there. Let's continue and see what else is going on. Meet Vita Inu, the world's first meme coin with actual utility. So this is a meme coin which has created some utility for itself. Now, I believe this article is very, very in-depth here. If you want a deep dive into Vita Inu, make sure to check out this article. I will drop the link to this in today's chat, but for today's video, I will be summarizing this. Let's go to the summary at the bottom here and see what's going on. Also, if you want more in-detail articles like this about different altcoins, let us know, because this is really, really thorough, and you need to do your due diligence before you choose whether to spend time investing in projects, and articles like this could really, really help. So let's take a look at this. Vita Inu is a meme coin that aims to differentiate itself from others by providing real-world utility and embracing a philosophy centered around enjoyment, fostering connections, and exploring the cryptocurrency revolution. So it's built on VNU Chain, a next-generation network utilizing a DAG architecture for faster transaction speeds and lower fees. VNU Chain offers features such as proof of liquidity, determinable fees, scalability, energy efficiency, and near-instant transaction finality. So the VNU ecosystem includes VNU Finance, a zero-gas lending platform, and VNU Swap, a decentralized exchange that facilitates cross-chain transfers and offers features like AMM, swaps, staking, lending, and liquidity provision. Vita Inu plans to transition into a DAO to enable community-driven decision-making. And the VNU token is the governance token and operates on the VTDAG network. The project has undergone a security audit by CertiK and addressed the identified vulnerabilities. So CertiK is actually a really good tool to use for developers there. And it helps protect us against problems like reentrancy attacks, like we've seen in Curve Finance in the last couple of hours. But that is an interest. Let's find where's the article gone? Here it is. Vita Inu there, and meme coin which is trying to build or has some utility there. Let's continue on to the next article here. We have Bitcoin remains stagnant, but where will the price go next? So Bitcoin has shown minimal direction recently, but let's look at the underlying levels of attraction the price could head towards in the coming weeks. So let's take a look at this analyst's predictions here. We are seeing, first of all, they're saying Bitcoin broke support, but it's not over. Now, Bitcoin did plummet through that. I'm not logged into TradingView. Come on, let me log in a second. Let's see if we can fix this. Let's check how this is looking on the screen. So what we have, while I'm doing this, please don't forget to go to cryptosavingexpert.com, the best cryptocurrency website out there, and make sure to press that big blue sign up button at the top and sign up to get the latest cryptocurrency news and market data so you don't miss what's going on in crypto. Here we go. I'm not logged in, but we can just draw new lines here. We can go into dark mode though, because light mode is awful. What we can see here is, first of all, we are looking at the daily chart, and when we look at the daily chart, you can see that we are still seeing higher highs and higher lows. We have not yet broken through that level and broken that uptrend. We are still in an uptrend, and that has not yet changed. And with that, if we zoom out to the bigger time frames, you can see we are currently still within a very crucial level. I would say the fight is not over. We have these points here, which I believe are from 28.9 to 32.7. And this range here is very, very important. This was used as a level of support during the previous bull market, and I want to see it being broken through right now. It may take a couple of attempts, it may take a while, but when we do break through this, and when we break through that $32,800 level, I imagine we can see a very, very quick move. So I'm keeping a very close eye on this. It may take a while. As I've said, we've had those spot Bitcoin ETF applications throughout the last couple of months, and yes, it created a huge amount of volatility, but we didn't have enough movement to break through that level of resistance, showing just how strong that level of resistance is. But when we do break through it, if we do break through it, I'm expecting a big move there. Until then, we could see a few more attempts. So get ready for some volatility here. Get ready for some sideways action here. I think that is what's going to happen. If we take a look at the 4-hour chart, let's reset the price scale here. You can see, let's remove this here and let's get into the nitty-gritty details. If we take a look and zoom in, you can see that we have this level of support at $29,800, and we had one here as well at $29,500, and then we broke down below them, and we have now been using them as a level of resistance. But is this over? We've seen more sideways action here. We have a level of support building at around $29,000 to $28,800. Keeping a close eye on this, we could continue, as we've said before on the channel. We've been in a $2,000 range here for a month. We then broke down below it, and now we're in this new range here. Could we just see some more price action between this 29.8 and this 28.8 level? Pretty likely, I think. A lot of people are shouting for lower prices because we did break through that level of support. What I think is going to happen here on the daily chart, let's pull this out here, is we could see a lot more sideways action. We could see some more volatility. We have some lower price targets too. In fact, let's pull that out first. If we go onto the daily chart here and we pull this out here, you can see, let's get this right. Let's spread this a little bit more so we can see this. If we take a look at this chart here, you can see we have a level of support down here at 27.3. And yes, it would be feasible for us to drop that low again. I could see that potentially happening. So we could see some more sideways action here. We could see us come back down to this level of support and hopefully hold it. And we could also see just a load of sideways action before another retest here. Either way, in the shorter time, this is a long-term price prediction here. We could see some movements here and then a retest. We could see some movements here and then a retest. But as long as we hold this level of support, I think we are just going to continue to battle this until we do see that move to the upside. And it could be a long time that we spend in this price range trying to break through that $32,000 level. But when we do, I'm expecting it to be nice. I'm expecting it to be quite a happy time for us all. But we'll have to wait and see for that. Obviously, looking at this chart here, you can see on the daily chart, the volumes in the cryptocurrency space has dropped off a cliff. Now, that's not what we want to see at all. But in that time, we have 8 more months to go until the next Bitcoin halving. And with that, we can expect some lack of attention there. Also, one last thing I would like to point out is the MACD. So let's go to the moving average convergence divergence. Can I even add this onto my chart when I'm not logged in? I don't think I can. Well, that'll be a story for tomorrow. Tune back in tomorrow to hear that news that I was going to share there. Also, before you forget, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss the latest cryptocurrency news. I'm going now, and I will see you all back here tomorrow at 11 a.m. BST time. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.